Well, here we are at beautiful Lake Roosevelt this morning, 90 miles just north of Phoenix. Going to come out and shoot some video on top water, maybe drop shot, Texas rig, kind of show how to catch some of these bass out here in Roosevelt Lake under tough, hot conditions. It's already in the mid 90s here. Temperature today will reach up around 110 degrees. So you know when the summer gets real hot like this, it's very, very hard to catch fish. So we're going to go out and teach you how to catch the fish shallow, deep, and have a good time. So when you come to the lake, you can catch those fish. Doesn't matter what time of day it's going to be. So thanks for tuning in with us, and as soon as we launch this boat, we'll be right with you. I'm bringing you a fishing video today. We're at Roosevelt Lake, just 90 miles northeast of Phoenix, Arizona. It's a beautiful lake. It's 30 miles long, and we're going to show you how to catch fish on really extreme hot days. The temperature already is 102 degrees. It should reach about 110. So what we're going to try to teach you is Texas rigging these bass and show you the shoreline on how to catch these bass and just go out and have a good time. A lot of these fish are in the 1.5 to 2.5 pound range so far. Occasionally you can get a 3, 4, or 5. This lake has a good population of 5, 6, and 7s, and all the way up to 17. So basically the Texas rig is real easy. All I'm using is a 1/4 ounce weight. Is that. I'm not using tungsten, I'm just using lead, and I'm using a 1/0 hook, just a straight shank. And the trick is I'm using a floating worm. Some of the worms float and some of them don't float. So basically, when you're hooking this Texas style, you run it up 1/4 inch, and then I'm just burying that hook right back in there. So by floating, when that worm hits the bottom, it's standing straight up like this. So when those fish see it, they think that worm's just crawling along the bottom. I tried many worms this morning of different kinds, ones that didn't float, and boy, this one floated, and it seemed to be the right color. It's a green pumpkin with a little bit of black flake, and it really makes a difference on the color you use and the type of worm. So this is a 7-inch, and it just happens to be a Kevin Van Dam, one of his free time plastic made by Strike King. It's a good worm, used it many times, but that floating action really seems to do the trick. You'll see that when I get over towards the weeds over here on the rock, I'm fishing a 90-degree bank with a lot of heavy rock and a lot of trees. Right now I'm using 12-pound XPS Bass Pro Shop fluorocarbon. And you'll probably think, well, man, look at the rocks and the sticks that he's in. But basically, you don't get caught that much. You really don't. You're just pitching to the target. Now these fish, it's already 9:30 in the morning. The temperature's up already. There's a very light breeze, but we're working a real steep bank. And as I turn the boat here, we're going to go back in and show you the junk that I'm fishing in. So we haven't been breaking off. I haven't broke off any fish at all. So we're just going to motor back over here, and you can see that we're just in a big cove up on the upper northeast end of the lake. We're just going to show you some of these trees, overhangs and stuff like this. This lake here has a lot of manzanita trees. Now the dam was raised 30 feet, so when you have 30 feet of water coming up flooding all this timber, it's amazing. You have a lot of cover for these bass to hide in. And as the temperature gets hotter, what do the fish do? They got to have some cover because they don't have eyelids, so they seek out shade. So they're going to be coming in some of this, and basically I'm just throwing this worm It's a fun way to fish. It really is. It's good for kids to learn. You don't get stuck a lot. You just look at your target, and you can just look at the rocks, and you can kind of just pitch. Now the trick is, as you get better with your pitching, you can pitch up into the trees. But I'm going to just show you on the Okay, I'm just kind of letting it sit there right now, and I'm just hopping this along the bottom. Sometimes I'll follow it out of the tree. Okay, now it's just heavy. There's no bite at all. I know there's a fish on there. So he just kind of came out of the tree, followed it out on the rocks. It's a nice little chunky fish. He was pretty shallow. He was only in like 6-8 feet of water. But hooked him right in the top, right where you're supposed to. Boy, he wouldn't have got off if he would have tried. Man, got him right in that membrane of his top lip there. But just a nice little chunky bass, probably 1.5 pounds, 1.75 pounds. So let's just let him go swim back to his little tree. So what's the chance of there being another one on that tree? So I'll just pitch that way up there, stay off a little bit. Get this professional override out of there. There we go. I have a very, pitching like this, I use a very loose spool. And so I'm gonna, maybe I'll stay offshore a little bit more since that one came out. You know, after I pitched in the tree, I was working it out a little bit further. So I like to keep the trolling motor turned down. There's one right there, another one. What's the chance of that? Oh. A little one, but you got to catch the little ones along with the big ones. So, but he came out of the same tree. Did you see that? So that can happen too. Okay. Now, usually a lot of times you can get some bigger fish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pitch right to the limb. I'm going to let it go down, and I'm just going to stop and kill it and dead stick it. Picked it up. Now he's got his dinner. He's He's just barely swimming. He doesn't even know he's gotten hooked yet, practically. Sometimes if you flip to the base of these trees, you can get a little bit nicer fish. Something kind of, we got those shorebirds. Looks like you got a little peck on there. I'll let him go back into the tree. We hooked a couple fish under. Let me just try the outer limbs of this one. If you're a serious bass fisherman and you love the art of bass fishing and stuff, learn how to pitch like this. Limbs that are thick like that, hanging on the outside, they should hold fish. So we're going to go ahead. This looks like we're going to get one right out of here because it's really thick. The thicker they are, the better it is. Okay, I'll let that thing go down. There he is. Boy, he must have followed it out. Sometimes there's no bite whatsoever. Sometimes there's just no bite, and those fish will just come right out of the trees, and they'll just follow that bait out, and they'll pick it up, and they'll just swim to the boat. So what happens is if you catch a fish close to the bank, the first thing that fish is going to do is he's going to swim towards the boat. He's got his meal, and he's heading towards deep water. You know, that's a little bit smaller one, but just a fun fish to catch, you know, just to have a good time. They're healthy. They got a nice little belly on them. So we'll just let him go back down. Well, I hope you learned something in this video, Texas Rigging Today, and thank you for watching.